Hello. All right. Thanks for having me. Thanks for bearing with me. So I'm going to be talking to you about building price-stable synthetic currencies with Bitcoin. So what is a price-stable synthetic currency? So price-stable synthetic currencies are actually what makes Abra able to, it's one of the primary things that allows Abra to scale to everyone in the world. So that's why it's important to us, and that's why I think you'd be interested to learn about it. So at Abra, we believe that in financial inclusion. So we believe that everyone should have access to the financial tools that they need in order to be successful and survive and thrive in the world. So as part of this vision, we need to be able to offer our products to everyone in the world. So we've developed a kind of a platform that's non-custodial, in contrast to most exchanges and a lot of big financial tools where they're fully custodial. And so what that means is that we never control a customer's funds. And so we can deploy our products to new jurisdictions across the world with a lot less legal loopholes or legal hurdles that we have to jump over. And so this just allows us to go to market way faster. So in my mind, that's like one of the primary benefits of these synthetic currencies. Another benefit, though, is security, because if you're familiar with the crypto space, you're familiar with some of the security problems that come with having these centralized custodial exchanges that get hacked and are like a huge target for hackers. So this is our portfolio view in our app. As you can see, the app looks just like a lot of investment apps that you have. You have various assets that you can have. Some of them are fiat currencies. We support 50 fiat currencies, roughly, about 25 cryptocurrencies, and most of those are synthetic, and some of them are native. So the idea is that we can quickly add new currencies at any time, and we'll add them as a synthetic currency, and the popular ones will bring native. So what is a synthetic currency? So one way to think of it is it's kind of like a gold fund. So when you invest in a gold fund, really you're just getting exposure to gold, and you settle in and out with dollars. So if you buy an ounce of gold, when the price goes up, you still have an ounce of gold, but you have more, it's worth more dollars. The price goes down, you still have an ounce of gold, but it's worth less dollars. And similarly, with our synthetic currencies, when the price goes up, it's worth more Bitcoin. The price goes down, it's worth less Bitcoin, but the currency value stays the same. So this is another screen from our app that I wanted to show you, just to give you an idea of what our app can do. So part of this model of being, yes? Yeah, go ahead.
Are you doing questions?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. You said the currency value remains the same. So is that the fiat currency value remains the same?
Yeah, so the synthetic currency. So it can be fiat or crypto, or really we could support any asset type. But so part of this, our model that we've developed allows us to add exchange partners or banking partners throughout the world, so we can have different cash in and cash out methods depending on the jurisdiction. So that also allows us to go to market a lot faster. So now is the time when I was going to take questions about how Abra works. Any questions? Yeah, go for it.
Is this just a quantro, or how are you making these currencies?
Oh, what was the question?
Are you using like some sort of like quantro type of method, or?
Oh no, so it's literally on the phone there. So we have a price that we give a currency like Ethereum or whatever, and then on the phone it's backed by Bitcoin. And so in the original title it was Bitcoin and Litecoin. Really, we could do this with any currency, but I'm just for simplicity in the talk, I'm just going to say Bitcoin. So currently we support Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Bitcoin Cash, but for various reasons, most of our assets are backed by Bitcoin currently. And I will go into details on exactly how this works.
Do you have integration for merchants? Or is it
Abra had multiple iterations. So in our beginning, we were remittance-based. That was kind of our use case that we were trying to solve is remittances, which is being able to send money from one country to another. And as part of that model, we did develop a merchant app. But currently, we really want to focus on what's working, which is most people in the crypto space really just want to invest in cryptos. So that's our focus now.
So
But in the future, we may bring back our merchant app.
But you currently do not have any.
We're not. No. Any more questions?
Yeah. So if I'm in, if the value of my synthetic or the fiat currency remains the same, am I investing in it for returns?
Yeah. So if you wanted exposure to whatever it might be, Ethereum or Stellar or whatever, then you would move your money into that currency. And then on your phone, it's stored in Bitcoin. And so when the price goes up, Abra is basically will make it whole for that amount. And I'll go into that now. Yeah.
Does Abra have their money servicing licenses?
Now, because we're non-custodial, in most places we do not have to be a money service business.
So do they have them, or do they not?
We are pursuing them just so we have it, but we don't need to have it.
Yeah, so we actually have a legal team that's on top of that. So we are registered after the registered MSP, but being non-custodial, we are over compliant.
So you're correct, but so you do have them in the states.
Oh, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the exact stage of it. But the point is that with this technology, it would not be necessary. So let me go into a little more details on how it works. So say our typical user, Alice, wants to deposit $100 into Abra. The current Bitcoin price is $100, so that's quite a steal right now. So Alice would transfer her $100 to one of Abra's exchange partners, where that $100 would get converted into one Bitcoin, and then that Bitcoin would get sent to the phone, Alice's app. Meanwhile, because Abra needs to maintain this, we call it a hedge. I'll explain what that is. Abra will borrow one Bitcoin from our lender and then exchange that Bitcoin for $100. And now Abra ends up with $100 in their bank account, and Alice has one Bitcoin on her phone. And I've bolded those numbers, so remember them, because they will not change as the price changes. And that's kind of how this works. So now, let's say the price of Bitcoin goes up to $200, and now Alice wants to withdraw her money. So the app would transfer that one Bitcoin on her phone, and half of the Bitcoin would go to the exchange partner, where it can then be sold for $100, and that $100 gets sent to Alice's bank or wherever. Meanwhile, the other half of Bitcoin goes to Abra. Abra has $100, which is now only worth half a Bitcoin, but they can exchange that for half a Bitcoin, and with the other half a Bitcoin, they have a full Bitcoin that they can return to their lender. So everyone's happy. But what if the price went down? So now the Bitcoin on Alice's app is worth only $50. So it gets sent to the exchange partner. That's not enough to make the $100 that Alice needs. So Abra provides the other half Bitcoin, and that now there's the other Bitcoin. I'm sorry. So now there's two Bitcoins that they can sell for $100, send to Alice. Meanwhile, Abra will use the $100 to exchange for two Bitcoin. One of the Bitcoins went to Alice. The other Bitcoin goes back to the lender. So everyone's happy. So does that make it more clear? Yeah. So that's basically, so a hedge has several different meanings for different people. So when I talk about hedge, I'm talking about this specifically. And what it's doing is Abra is hedging the risk, but it's also just pegging the value of the Bitcoin or on Alice's phone to the asset that she wants.
But also, sorry. No. So it seems like you're providing a hedge for Alice.
Yeah, so we are providing a hedge in the traditional sense, but I will talk about a hedge contract, and that hedge contract is that contract between Alice and Abra to peg the value of the Bitcoin on her phone to whatever the asset is. So it's kind of a two-way hedge in a way, because it could pay out to Alice, it could pay out to Abra. Yeah.
So, two questions. So, what exactly does Alice want to do? Does she want to buy Bitcoin? Why is she using the Abra app? Why is she putting in? What is she trying to do out of it?
Yeah. So mainly, the main use case for Abra right now is investing. Right.
Okay. So she wants to invest.
It's for retail investors. It could be any of the assets or currencies that we support. So we support 25 cryptos currently,
And then,
relatively.
I guess the second part is like, how does Abra make money in this entire sort of transaction?
Oh, we just charge a spread on the exchanges when you exchange a currency, similar to most exchanges.
So this step one there says Alice starts with 1 BTC on her app. Is her app showing her 1 BTC or is it showing her $100?
It shows her the $100.
So the point is that she has $100 coming,
Yeah.
not that she has one.
Yeah, this is showing more just kind of the back end, how it works.
So it's all unknown to Alice.
Yeah. I mean, we don't necessarily hide it from you if you're a technical user. You can dig into the blockchain and look at what your keys are and where your money is. But yeah, we try to make, we're targeting like retail investors, aren't necessarily sophisticated, just giving them a way to get exposure to cryptocurrencies. Yep.
You were saying that the BTC is on Alice's phone, but to keep the price stable, you're moving BTC around.
Yeah, so when she does a transaction, she may, the app will move the Bitcoin around. So it only readjusts the values when a transaction is done.
Okay, when you're like withdrawing it.
Yeah, withdrawing, we have, I'm going through withdraw and deposit because they're common transactions. We support lots of different types. Yeah.
So I think I get that the app has Alice's key, but does Alice see her key?
So we don't currently have a way for you to, well, so you can get the app allows you to have a backup phrase similar to most crypto wallets. And so from that, you can theoretically get all your keys. But we don't, currently there's not an easy way for her to get it. That's something we will do in the future.
But she could potentially send that BTC wherever she wants.
Oh, yes, so I'll get to that next. That's what I'm talking about next. Yep.
So does she have the transaction is occurring, she's downloaded the transaction, which is why you don't need the money servicing license? So
No, the reason we don't need a money servicing license is because we never touch her money.
So the transactions happen, she's doing the transaction? So how
She's doing the transaction in partnership with our partner who's an exchange. She does have a license.
how does she find a partner who's willing to do the $100?
That all happens automatically through the app.
Your app is finding that partner?
Yeah, so when she connects her bank or whatever, then she's really creating an account on the exchange. Yes?
What blockchain do you use?
So currently, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and BCH we can do this process with.
So using basically what we asked, using this for your address of the transaction before the change.
Sorry, can you speak a little louder?
The user needs to know their address to look up the.
No, it all happens automatically by the app. This is just talking about how the app functions.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, he was asking, I guess if the user needs to look up the transaction details in order to do this. Yeah. Yeah, that's all stored in the app as part of the app details.
Are you guys covering slippage on some of the less liquid pairs?
Yeah, so slippage is definitely a problem. It's kind of a little bit more complicated than I was going to address in this topic. This is more about the technology behind the Bitcoin smart contract, not so much the financial side of it. But yes, so basically what Abra does is has a fee that they charge, which would cover those details. So we may lose money on one transaction and make it up on another, for example. All right. So this is kind of what it looks like from the Bitcoin transaction level. So in order to prevent Alice, I forget who asked the question, but someone was saying if Alice has access to the keys, can't she just withdraw the Bitcoin if it's worth more than her hedge? So the way we prevent that is use a 2 of 2 multi-sig transaction, or multi-sig UTXO. And so one of the keys in the multi-sig is Alice's, the other key is Abra's. And now both Alice and Abra have to agree in order to spend that UTXO. So that's basically basically prevents Alice from going outside of the app to spend the hedge. So as you can see, so a hedge contract then is incorporated by both the UTXO and some details about the hedge, which we store in our database as well as gets stored on Alice's phone. One thing to note too about our transactions is a typical Bitcoin transaction is usually 2 inputs and 1 output. They're all kind of different, but generally it's 1 input from, it's 1 input and 2 outputs, 1 input from the sender, 1 output to the recipient, and then 1 output which is changed back to the sender. And for Abra, we typically might think of it as having 2 inputs and 3 outputs because there's now an extra input from Abra in order to make up for anything that the hedge needs, and then Abra might get changed. Also, Abra might need to get paid out. So that's basically how we do it with 2 of 2. Yeah?
Just a fundamental question. Does the sequence of signatures matter in multi-sig?
Does it matter? No, not really. I mean, generally it does not matter.
With regard to what if Abra goes under, let's say? What's the time lock?
Good question. So there's no time lock, but I will talk about what happens if Abra goes under. So in this model, what we would do, so this is actually how we currently do it, and it works really well. There is an improvement, which is what I'm going to get to next, which we are planning. But currently what we would do is just publish our public keys. So then Alice, you need some sort of tool to do it, but Alice would be able to get her funds. No, or sorry, we publish our private keys. Yeah. Yeah.
So does the user end up creating an account on the exchange? Or the app creates the account on the exchange?
The account on the exchange, yeah. The user does it through like some form. It's like depending on the exchange, there'll be different sign up.
So they have to go through KY.
Yeah. Depending on the jurisdiction and the exchange they're going through, yeah.
So quickly, what is the advantage of this app against the user just creating an exchange account and actually doing investments there?
I'm sorry, I have a hard time
What
hearing.
is the value added in this app?
Oh, so the main value in my mind is that it allows us to go live everywhere. We're live in pretty much every country that doesn't have, sanctions like North Korea or. And then she doesn't necessarily need to go through KYC if she's not going to use one of the exchange partners. So you can get money from another Abra user. We have a way to use cash in and cash out that's live in the Philippines. Potentially we'd be able to have more stuff like that in more countries. Yeah.
In the diagram, what is the pay to public key hash for? Abra's paying into should Abra be paying to the 2 or?
Okay, so the arrows are just like kind of who owns that UTXO. So Abra is paying into the transaction, so it's coming from our hot wallet to make up for if there's like the hedge is less than the value of the synthetic currency.
Key hash is adding the hedge funds to the 2 of 2.
Exactly.
Down to that.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about what are some of the limitations of 2 of 2. There's 2 primary ones. One is what happens if the price of Bitcoin skyrockets, which it sometimes does. The user is not necessarily going to come back to the app anytime soon, but Abra will have all this value locked up in these UTXOs, and that value actually belongs to Abra, or it really belongs to our lender, and Abra's paying interest on it. So it's not ideal. So it'd be nice if Abra could roll over the hedges without the need of the user. And the other one that you talked about is like if Abra goes away, like how can the user get their funds? So we can solve both of these problems by using a 2 of 3 model, where we have the third key is owned by a neutral party, an oracle, that knows how to execute the contract rules and can do that in a fairly secure way, such that both Alice and Abra can trust that they'll do it correctly. Yeah, so as you can see, this transaction is very similar to the 2 of 2 one, difference that we use 2 of 3 multi-sig and the UTXOs. And we're going to hash the contract details into the UTXO. So that way when the Oracle goes to sign the transaction, the user or Abra can just provide the contract details, the transaction to be signed, and then the Oracle can verify that that contract represents that UTXO. Yeah, so this is kind of what the kind of architecture, higher level architecture of what an Oracle would look like. There's 2 main pieces to it. There's one which is the contract rules validator, and then there's a price feed. Both of these need to be designed in such a way that everyone can trust them. So the price feed takes in different data from different places, like exchanges, kind of well-trusted price feeds, which there are several now, and then aggregates them in such a way that, that it can be pretty sure that it's a fair price. And then the rules validator is just some fairly simple open source rules for reading the transaction and the contract and just validating that it's true. And then the user or Abra can present these to the Oracle. If the Oracle agrees that it's valid, it just signs the transaction, and then now anyone can post that transaction to the blockchain.
Can you talk about the prices?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you talk about the prices? Because obviously people arbitrage the prices currently across exchanges. So I mean, how are you dealing with that?
So we definitely want, so there's a lot of nuances to it, but we definitely want multiple feeds for any given exchange pair. We'd want multiple feeds, and then we'll aggregate them. So we'll average them. You can do volume-weighted averaging, so that a small exchange with small volume doesn't influence the price of a more important exchange. And then you can throw out anomalies, things like that. And then so there'll probably be some fee associated with going through the Oracle, just to pay for the Oracle, but that would also prevent people from wanting to use that for arbitrage. And at that point, like if there really was an arbitrage opportunity, I mean, as long as the price was valid, then I mean, there shouldn't really be one, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Let's see. Yeah, so this is kind of what the transaction would look like for a rollover. So you have Alice's 2 of 3 UTXO, but notice that one would be signed by both Abra and the Oracle, not Alice. And then since Alice is not available, we would just roll it over to her same address again. And then Abra would get the leftover. And then this is the other way where Alice wants to withdraw funds. So in this case, in order to get the address for Abra, that would have to be included in the contract details. We didn't go over exactly what would be in contract details, but it's just simple stuff, and you could add more depending on the rules. But it's like the price, the asset. The price would be the open price of the contract, and then withdrawal addresses are another important thing. Yeah.
So in 2 of 3, if you lose your key, it seems like someone can sort of siphon out individual user accounts like one by one, and the Oracle went out, right? Until like someone reports it to you.
Like if someone steals the key?
Yeah.
From the Oracle or from Abra or the user?
You. or the user, but they can steal like their master key, find some big accounts, slowly cipher it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, but isn't that a problem in any transaction?
Well, but so it's just that this isn't exactly non-custodial, right? Well, I mean, I don't know. There's some risk of the hacking, right?
Hacking of the Oracle.
No, you or
Well,
the Oracle.
Yeah, but those are true. There is risk of things getting hacked, but I feel like that's true in any model.
Well, but if you have your own hardware ledger wallet, it's like you're totally responsible for it. Here, whereas if you put your money in Abra, there is still risk that the other party you gets hacked.
Can I? Well, you need to.
Yeah, we'd have to hack two
you
parties.
steal two keys.
Yeah.
You have to steal both keys in order to get the file.
No, you can steal their key and pretend to be them in the Oracle, right?
No, but the Oracle would, yeah, but they wouldn't get the money. It would go to the user's address.
So, but if it's just Bitcoin, can't you just send it?
No, because the Oracle will only execute according to the rules.
No, but it's stolen. It's stolen.
No, but if they stole Abra's key, then they submit it to the Oracle. Like in this case, they pretend to be Abra. It's going back to Alice's address.
You
So
have to
that
have,
was already in Alice's address.
yeah, you have to have two keys, right? So you have
Yeah.
to steal either the customer's key and Abra's key, or you have to steal the Abra's key and the Oracle keys, and that's how the 2 of 3 signature security works.
But
But alright, so you have a 2 of 3 address. It's some account, right? And you steal Abra's key,
Yeah.
and
So
then you pretend to be Abra
So you
to
need
the
to-
Oracle and say send it over to Binance.
well, no,
Yeah,
because
you
so.
can't do that.
So you could steal Abra's money, depending on how we design it. So there's an interface to the Oracle for Abra to say, I want to roll over stuff. So if you allow Abra to present the address that they want that rollover funds to go to, they could potentially steal Abra's money. But Alice's money is getting rolled over into her own address.
So I think your point is that if by just the mere possession of the private key, you can pretend to be Abra, but I doubt if that's how it works.
Well, you definitely need the contract details also. But yes, if one party gets hacked, well, so the point is though, in 2 of 3, you need 2 parties to be compromised. But you're right, you could pretend to be the Oracle. I mean, there's a bunch of ways you could add like extra security, but that's beyond this presentation. So yeah, any more questions on the actual, like how the Oracle works?
okay, so if I'm Alice, I'm just going to rehash that, I guess. I'm just saying, I mean, if I'm Alice, I'm having to trust 2 parties, so my attack surface has effectively doubled.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm trying to solve the problem of Abra going under, well, I'm having, you can have more complex scripts.
So we can talk about trust. So yeah, there's the, so trust of course in the Oracle is really important. So basically Alice needs to trust that Abra and the Oracle aren't going to collude, right? That's her main thing. But notice that at the worst case, if they are colluding, it's still just what a custodial exchange would be.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
but we're still at square one, right?
No, I mean it's not worse, right?
I mean,
Except that you guys aren't licensed to be a custodial exchange.
Well, no, but so the point though is you do need to trust the Oracle, right? Like so, the user would want to trust the Oracle. I mean, we go into the ways that you add trust, but the main thing for the user though is that. So if we go back to the beginning, my main point was that the main value of this is that it allows you to go live in faster. So, I mean, and of course, Abra and the Oracle do not plan on colluding. And so the point is for us to set up these 2 organizations in such a way that it's hard to collude and that there's no reason to collude, and we don't have any reason to collude.
So, nice segue.
Yeah.
Having a reason to collude. Abra has its own key,
Yeah.
and it controls the app. It writes
Yeah.
the app. So
Yeah.
there is no reason to collude. Abra can spend all of everybody's funds.
Yeah, if we wanted to screw over users, we can. Like,
That's even a pleasure, even if the hardware wants.
but the way around that is to make it an open procedure in how the app works and let people audit it. The same with any app, right? Any app you use is you kind of have to trust or audit. So the ways to trust the Oracle, though. So first of all, you design the Oracle in such a way as to minimize the trust, right? So if you noticed in our diagram, we really want to focus on the price feed and make sure that that's going to give us accurate prices, because that's super important. And then focus on the rule validating part, because we want to make sure that that's following the rules. And then meanwhile, we'll also add auditing and monitoring. So you can always audit the price feed to make sure that, at any time, make sure it's giving you the right prices. You can also audit the whole system by providing it with a transaction and seeing that it signs it correctly, and then you don't necessarily have to post that to the blockchain. And then you also monitor the blockchain. And so since these have the hashes hashed into the UTXOs, you can actually, if you know the original contract details, you can make sure that it's getting executed correctly. So of course you want to minimize complexity in any security system. For the rules validator, we'd open source it and then share it. Well, for all of the Oracle code, you probably open source it so that it can be audited. And then you run the rules validator in an SGX enclave, which is basically a special kind of chip where you can run signed code, and then from outside you can validate that the code that you think is running is actually running there. And then in the future, you probably want to use multiple oracles. So you can say if you had 5 oracles and you need 3 of them to agree that the rules are getting executed correctly, then that's a lot better than just one. And you can have them all run in different jurisdictions. And you do this through something called Shamir secret sharing, which basically allows, it's kind of like 2 of 3, but there could be only one key that the oracle shares between 5 oracles. And then to get to the point of like having the users fully trust the oracle, I think the best way for that to happen is if there, in the future, there could be companies that kind of specialize in this. So they would have, the proper like arbitration in place, and then like a surety bond. So if they break their agreement, like someone can get paid out for their damages, etc. Any more questions?
Have you considered doing this with something like? Have you considered doing this with something like smart contracts, so people don't need to trust that you're just doing the right thing?
Like a Ethereum style smart contract?
Anything that operates in public view.
So this is like a smart contract. So you could do it with Ethereum or Rootstock or one of these other systems, but you still really need to rely on the price feeds, which are external feeds. So you still are going to end up with an oracle anyways. Yes.
I mean, who do you see like DYDX as like your competitors in the space, or who do you see?
So they're like a decentralized
Derivatives.
Decentralized derivatives. So in terms of decentralized exchanges, we will plug into them.
Do you see specific people doing decentralized derivatives as your?
No, because they're like one of our exchange partners. So they're just another exchange partner we can use. So we're trying to build a platform that makes it really easy for people to plug into the crypto investing space and not have to like use all these different tools to like, go to one exchange to buy one token and download it and put it on their Ledger wallet and then move it to another exchange to sell it, etc. So you can do it all in one place. Yep.
On your earlier slide when it had the example of putting in Bitcoin, were you talking about Bitcoin or the synthetic like dollars? I think that may be part of my confusion.
Which one?
Earlier, like when she puts in
First one.
when you say BTC, you really mean BTC, or do you mean the synthetic?
So the synthetic dollar is a dollar backed by Bitcoin.
And it's like these dollar coins that are in the wallet, or the actual Bitcoin?
It's Bitcoin plus these contract details.
Not the synthetic thing.
The synthetic coin is Bitcoin plus the contract details.
So, okay, so if Bitcoin went to like 0, right?
Yeah.
What would happen?
So that's the one case that's hard to deal with.
Or like
If it goes to 1 cent, we're fine.
right. Or I think Basis has this problem too. I don't think it's just 0.
Yeah.
I think if there's like a massiveness.
Yeah, I can talk about the advantages of Basis or one of those other
I think
MakerDAO.
Basis has the same problem. Well, basically.
Well, and the other problem they have is they're only going to support currencies and assets that have a market, right, on Basis. We can support almost anything that has a reliable price feed.
Right. But basically, there's like a big crash. Like you'll basically keep, right?
Yeah, but only if it goes like it's never going to go to 0.
Not 0, but like even like what if it was at like 1,000 tomorrow?
That's fine. Yeah, because we're hedged. We can buy back what we owe our lender for a lot less.
I have a question. So over here, right, it's like Alice deposits $100, and the next slide, if she's withdrawing, and she withdraws like $200 at that point because the value of Bitcoin has like doubled at that stage.
Oh, but so she has $100 in her app.
Yeah,
So she
deposits
can't.
$100.
So her app would not let her withdraw $200.
No, but the thing is that she's putting this $100 in to buy Bitcoin.
Oh, so she switches.
And the value of Bitcoin increases.
Yeah.
And she's withdrawing all of it out.
So Bitcoin in our app is native. So if she switches to Bitcoin, it's just like a Bitcoin wallet.
Okay.
If she switches to another synthetic coin like whatever Dogecoin, and then it works the same way as with dollars, except instead of exchanging our Bitcoin for dollars, we exchange our Bitcoin for Dogecoin, and then we hold Dogecoin.
I want to let Ish continue the presentation. So,
Oops, wrong way.
we'll get
Yeah,
to
there's one more part to it, which is kind of this is the main kind of concept. But over the last year, some things changed, and so we improved on it a little bit. So the main two changes were, one, mining fees became a big issue. The other, so originally we were more of like a remittance kind of system. We also did merchant payments, but it was more about sending money from one person to another. Now we're much more focused on retail investors. So with retail investors, most of our transaction types they're just changing from one asset class to another. So if you think about it, the UTXO is the value is not changing much when you go from Dogecoin to Ethereum Classic or whatever. So there might be a little bit taken out for Abra's fee, or over time the prices might skew a little bit, but the basic value stays the same. So a lot of our transaction types are these change currency types, and if they happen, and often we're not making much. There's no reason to actually spend it because we were spending a lot on the mining fee. And there was no place where we were able to make much profit. So then we came up with this idea of hedge amendments. So if you can actually amend the hedge that's in the UTXO, then you can just say, well, this was, let's see my example, it was 500 USD, but now I'm changing it to 1,000 stellar. So why, I don't need to spend the actual UTXO. Alice and Abra can just agree that that's what they're doing, sign the contract, and then submit that to the Oracle. And then the Oracle can just keep track of all of the contracts. And then when it comes time to spend the UTXO, it can just check all the contracts to see if it's valid. So you can keep on doing this and chaining them along until it becomes economically advantageous to send the UTXO. Like, for example, if there's more value in that UTXO, if it's worth actually cashing it out.
So these are completely off-chain.
This part of it. So the UTXO is on-chain. So you get to decide if it's a change currency and the actual value is staying with the same person, then the app can optimize for when it makes sense to actually go on-chain versus just keep track of the amendments.
Before you ask a question, just read
Sorry. And so so this is kind of what the Oracle servers now would look like. So it's a little bit more complicated. So we need to persist some data now. So you persist the data about the contracts. The reason for that is because you need to invalidate the previous contracts. Otherwise, someone might redeem something in the past that's worth more. And then you also have to really make it, ensure that the contract's valid, you would have to check the blockchain to make sure that the UTXO is valid. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. Now, I think that's the last thing. So now you can ask any question you want. Over here.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Are you guys hiring?
Yes.
You have to ask that to that guy.
All right. Who are you hiring for?
We're hiring for developers, blockchain experts. Come to me if you want a job.
And you are?
I'm Willie. I work at Abra. I run product.
And you just can't wait to hire everybody in the room.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Willie.
Yep.
So with the contracts and the off-chain update, it kind of sounds like the way that Lightning contracts work, right? You're changing the balances, right? So you're changing sort of who's getting what if this is settled. Is that right?
I don't think it's very similar to Lightning. It's similar in that you're it's an off-chain way of avoiding going to on-chain until you want to. But when you dig into the details, it doesn't have.
What does this contract look like programmatically?
Oh, it's just JSON.
It's just JSON?
Yeah.
Like with what fields?
So there's the asset that's getting those are the main ones, and then the withdrawal address that Abra needs.
So each party, so Abra and the customer, taking that JSON, sign it with the private key that is needed to release this UTXO.
Are we talking about the amendments or the?
I guess when you say, signing, when you sign a contract, there's signing in crypto and then there's signing contracts. So when you say signing, I'm wondering if that's with the private key.
Yeah, with private keys. Yeah, the original private keys in the UTXO, so that the Oracle. I mean, there's different ways you could design this, but the way I was thinking is that you'd sign it with the same private keys in the original multi-sig. Yeah.
So the question is about oracles. Something that I couldn't figure out. Do you randomize the oracles, oracle selection? That's number one. And then number two, so oracles get paid for the job that they're doing.
Yeah.
Do you control for the oracle becoming malicious and just creating jobs and sort of like acting as potentially as their own provider of price feed?
Oh, right, yeah. So, so the question would be, so the first question is, like, do we randomize oracles? No, there's nothing about that in this design. You can have multiple oracles, but then you would use any threshold number of them. So there's nothing random about it. You can find whichever ones you want. And then the other question is, how do we handle malicious oracles? So what we would do is we basically would have a contract with the company providing the oracles. So we wouldn't be able to invalidate all of the past UTXOs, but we'd stop using them, of course, and we might sue them.
Yes, but the question is not only that's right. It's not, so right, if you catch them, of course you have like something like an SLA or something with a company.
Yeah.
You just terminate the contract.
Yeah.
The question is, how fast can you catch them, and that they're acting malicious?
I'm pretty sure we'd catch them within a day, right? Because we're constantly monitoring their activity.
But they're getting paid for the providing of a price feed, right?
Yeah.
Who are they providing the price feed to? Are they providing it to you?
So they're getting paid to sign these transactions for Abra out of band from the user, and for the user if they for some reason don't want to go through Abra.
Won't there be an attack vector where malicious oracle creates a lot of users and basically creates a request for the price feed, and then just generates these.
They're not getting paid specifically for the price fee. They're getting paid to sign these transactions. So, and the fees that they would get come from the value in those transactions. So, I mean, it's a good thing to investigate, but I'm pretty sure it would cost them more to create the transactions than to. Yep.
Building on top of that, I've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
On top of that. Do you have a contract in place with Oracle Services?
No, so we were working on that. So.
All right, great.
Yeah.
I'll throw out. It needs to be called oracles.org, but you should check out POA Network. And if there is a malicious validator signing these transactions, not providing a price feed, because I think everyone would agree a price feed would be very difficult for an Oracle service, but for signing and validating transactions, POA Network has basically notary public, so you could reach out through traditional legal mechanisms should there be a malicious actor, and you could then reach out using traditional legal frameworks.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, I totally agree. But I do these questions do raise like the most tricky part of this is not the technical side. It's the how do you set up this legal entity to run the Oracle.
Oh, it's called POA.org.
That's what, do you work with them?
Yes.
Okay. We should talk.
So,
yeah.
Just something.
Jeff, aren't you a validator of POA?
Well, I think I am. Yes.
There you go. So Jeff, you made it money, right?
I mean, this is specifically regarding your like pivot per se.
Yeah.
I heard about Abra back when you guys were focused on the remittance market.
Right.
Why did you sort of move into this? Is it just that you felt it was more profitable, or was there sort of like regulation around like money moving cross borders? Is that something you can shed some light?
Oh no, it totally had to do with the fact that that's where the users were. Okay. When we did the pivot, our growth went way up.
So what happens when I get RICO'd?
Wait, please elaborate.
You are a non-custodial, that's sort of custodial financial organization holding assets that might belong to me.
Yep.
And I'll break some laws.
Yep.
And the government knows where you are, and they know that you have my assets.
Right. So in order for them to take your assets, they would need to go after both us and the Oracle. That's the point. That's why we put the Oracle in jurisdictions where that's hard.
Our plan is to put the Oracle in Switzerland. We're going to have a foundation to start the first Oracle in Switzerland. So that's outside. So the government can't subpoena. It'll be difficult to subpoena from another country for the private key. Versus if the Oracle is in the U.S., then they could subpoena for the keys.
Yeah. And that's also a big advantage of the multiple Oracle situation, because then they would need to subpoena Oracles in 3 countries or however many Oracles we
They
need.
can still freeze your asset. They can't, can I raise my?
Yes.
They can still freeze things. They might not be able to take it. They can still freeze
The
things.
same thing though, they would need to, in order to freeze it, they need 2 of the keys, right? So they need Abra and Oracle.
No, but if I wanted to take money out of Abra, again, if they get a hold of Abra, they can, like, I won't be able to take my money out because they need both Abra and the Oracle. They won't be able to get it.
Yeah, so that's why the Oracle's in these other jurisdictions, so it makes it harder for them, for governments to freeze, or a single government at least to freeze the funds, right? Because they would need to get access to these entities in multiple countries.
No, but that doesn't make sense though. So my money technically, to keep it simple, it's with Abra or it's in this app for like a regular user. He's just gonna be like, oh, I have this money inside this app that they know anything about the synthetic currencies backed by Bitcoin and
Right.
those kinds of things. If I want to withdraw this money, and at the same time it's at that particular point in time where the government has some kind of probe into Abra, and at that point, the user won't be able to actually withdraw the money at that.
No, we provide methods for them to use the Oracle. Probably through in some sort of open source thing that they can just download some Python script.
Okay, you can even always release private keys.
Yeah. No, we don't even need to do that, right? They just go through the Oracle.
Okay.
So you get the data off your phone that includes the keys and data and the transaction data, and you post that to the Oracle through the API that they provide. Question over here.
But when you cash out, you're sending, like Abra sends the USD somewhere, right? They send like
Yes. Well, so our exchange partner does, yeah. Our banking partner.
your exchange partner. Because I'm basically thinking the US could just freeze like your bank account. Like, where
Yeah. So if your bank's in the US, then yes, they can freeze your bank account. But again, that's through our banking partners.
Who are your USD bank?
So we have more than one. I mean, do you want to elaborate or?
No, we're not going to discuss that, and that's not going to be answered here.
Okay. Yeah, that's not my department.
Thank you, Tara.
Yes. Oh, wait for the microphone.
what happens when app crashes?
When our app crashes?
Yeah.
And it doesn't come back? Or what?
Yeah, like user can't open the app. Or like,
Well, so I mean, you're talking about some sort of disaster scenario, and Abra's gone, the app crashes.
yeah.
So,
Developer deleted app from that.
so there is a backup key which provides a backup phrase which provides access to all your keys. One thing that we do need to do is make it easier for users to access the data they need in order to access their funds without Abra.
What if they purchase like synthetic currency, not Bitcoin? So how does users retrieve that from their backup phrase?
Yeah, so we do need to provide better tools for this, but it is possible, right? Because all of the keys and data needed to access the funds on your phone are in the app on your phone.
You mentioned this was to help globally.
Yes.
Can you give a sense of what is the breakdown per country or jurisdiction that your users?
Oh, I'm not. totally up on the numbers, but we did start a remittance program in the Philippines, so we do have tons of users in the Philippines, and we do have users in most countries. Obviously, there's like English-speaking countries have more, probably just because of our marketing material. But if you want me, I can get back to you with more concrete numbers. Yep.
So if you're buying, if you're putting in $100 and always getting $100 out only, then how are you getting exposure to any cryptocurrency?
Right. So $100. Sorry if this was confusing. That was just an example of one synthetic currency. So we offer 50 fiat currencies, 25 or so cryptocurrencies, and we're adding more all the time.
I guess to be more specific, like you're putting in X amount of value into the app,
Yeah.
and you're not getting anything more than X or less than X.
So what do you want to invest in?
Like say it's lumens.
Lumens?
Yeah.
So you transfer $100 to your app from your bank, and then you can convert it into lumens. Now you have exposure to lumens.
But I can't withdraw those lumens.
Yeah, you can. Well, you can withdraw. So you can withdraw fiat currencies to banks that support them, and when we have native currencies, like eventually we'll bring lumens native, and then you can withdraw them. So what you do is you have access to you have exposure to the value of the lumens. So if the lumens go up, then you can convert them back to dollars and withdraw them to your bank. Or you can convert to Bitcoin and withdraw to Bitcoin.
So from the explanation that you had on like the first few slides, I was under the impression that if I withdraw it, then I'm always withdrawing it and getting the same dollar, whatever currency value back.
Yeah, so sorry if that was confusing. So you can do different things. You can deposit and you can also exchange, right? So you could deposit from a bank, you usually are using dollars or euros or something. So you deposit in that currency, and then you exchange to the thing that you want exposure to. And then when you withdraw in whatever we support. Like it could be one of our native cryptos, or it could be back to your bank in the original currency you deposited in.
Okay, so that's a good question. So we actually had users who, that's fine, it is quite confusing. So there are fiat currencies, there are also cryptocurrencies. So when you put $100 into the app and you keep it as USD, guess what? You put $100 in, it'll stay at $100 based on the hedge. So if you put 100 USD, keep it as in your USD wallet, you're not going to gain magical exposure to Bitcoin. If you buy Bitcoin, that Bitcoin will stay the same number.
So I had that confusion when you showed the slide.
Yeah.
And I just signed up and I did the whole process, and now it's actually on computer that you just.
Okay.
I think.
Good thing to note. I will change my example.
You can just use screenshots from your app. I literally did that one because I was so confused. I was like, if I'm going to hold $100, how do I profit? Now I get it, like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The currency that I want to hold, and I can quickly move whenever.
you can also hedge out. So
Yeah.
if you made a certain amount on Bitcoin, switch back to USD, vice versa.
So we just had an example with lumens, and your exposure to lumens, and if lumens go up, you gain. But only if that partner of yours that's managing the lumens is still in business.
No. So the banking partners are just for transferring in and out.
But the
Right.
The exchange
Your
exchange
So if lumen goes to the moon,
Yeah.
then
So the exchange partner, though, only needs to deal with the currency that's backing the lumens. So if lumen goes to the moon,
You're taking the risk, right?
but we're not actually taking risk because we hedge it.
Yeah, but the question.
Because we hedge it.
What about your counterparty?
We don't have a counterparty. Or you mean our lender?
No, they're not.
So we borrow Bitcoin,
Right.
and then we exchange the Bitcoin for lumens.
Right.
But you're not the
Now,
custodian.
imagine your counterparty goes out of business.
Yeah, but that's not their money. That's our hedge.
If your hedge,
Yeah.
the counterparty in your hedge goes out of business, what happens?
Correct.
There is no lumen counterparty though. It's Bitcoin.
But you're not the custodian.
Who's
if I have 100 lumen in my Abra wallet,
So Abra is the counterparty, right? So for example, let's say you have a synthetic lumens, right? We will hedge that by buying the lumens. So the lumen price goes up or goes down.
We have lumens.
We have lumens. We can always give it back to you when you withdraw. Now your question is, well, what happens if Abra did something wrong? Yes, we do have to protect whatever crypto asset that we do to hedge the counterparty. That is correct. Does that answer your question?
so if I have 100 lumen in my wallet, Abra has 100 lumen in a wallet.
I mean,
That's
in
the
a hardware wallet.
simplest, yeah, that's the simplest hedging strategy. That's not exactly what we do, but that would be the simplest way to understand it.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to hedge. This is just the basic way.
Okay. Two questions. First question is back to oracles. So, if I persistently attack, your oracle network, will I slow down the basically?
So in the normal case, Abra and the user just do their business without the oracle. The oracle's just for these extreme cases, where the Abra wants to roll over without the user.
Weren't you saying 2 out of 3 signatures?
Right, but it wouldn't slow down regular transactions, because in the normal transaction is just between the user and Abra.
Which has two. Plus the signature, Abra has signature, so two.
For the price, right?
Yeah, so the oracle and Abra don't have to use the same price feed. They just have to have good prices.
I see. Okay, and the second question is, are you that's more like on a product development or something? So you effectively potentially you're running like a big exchange inside of Abra.
Yeah, you can think of it as an exchange. It's a non-custodial exchange.
I
Yeah.
would argue it's like basically a massive hot wallet, right? That has a lot of accounts and.
Yeah, except it's not one wallet, right? Because they're spread across everyone's side.
Yeah. But you're managing, a large exchange. Have you thought of basically creating Abra bridge currency to help with?
Yeah, we talked about this stuff. We have various opinions.
But just that I thought about this problem is that potentially can incentivize the users that you already have a lot of to stake or lock into your wallet, hence providing a lot of big liquidity pool, and through the Abra token having basically having the ability to have a liquid enough pool to have exchanges and then distribute the fees.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
So yeah, that is definitely an approach.
So I'm interested in finding out because the same thing that caused the crash of the banks in 2008 with all the hokey derivative behind the scenes.
Like poorly managed hedges.
Exactly. And so when you take someone's lumen, are you holding, so someone, let's say 20 lumens, are you actually holding 20 lumens?
So we're holding 20 lumens, but the user has an equivalent Bitcoin on their phone. So yes, if the price changes, it gets out of balance. But at any time,
But literally, are you holding 20 lumens?
yes, generally. I mean,
Not generally, but yes or no?
well, generally because there's different ways to hedge, right? Like if there was a working futures market for lumens, you could potentially use that. But in this model that I outlined, yes, we would be holding 20 lumens. But it's not the user's lumens. That's the important part. The user has 20 lumens worth of Bitcoin on their phone. So if we go bust, they just take their Bitcoin, and maybe if the hedge is out of sync for a little bit at that point, they're not completely whole, but they don't lose everything.
But if lumens grows faster than Bitcoin,
Yeah.
that's an issue.
Well, that's why we adjust the hedges periodically.
But you're actually holding lumens, and the user just has these Bitcoin.
Backed by lumens, yeah.
So-
Or lumens backed by Bitcoin.
So the risk is if you get hacked and lose your crypto, just like a centralized exchange, right?
No, because they have all this Bitcoin on their phone, equal to the value of their lumens.
But I'm just curious, are you like a bank that has, when they have their lumen, you take the little lumen? you
Well,
put it
so a
in
bank
your account?
holds customers' deposits, right? And we're not holding the customer's deposit.
So
So the customer doesn't own lumens, they own synthetic lumens, but they have the value of those lumens in Bitcoin on their phone. So we're not a bank.
But if you're actually holding some crypto, right? You can't. If you're holding crypto, okay, and
Yeah.
it all disappeared tomorrow,
Then we'd be out of business, yes.
and you're telling me that all of your financial partners, everyone else is going to uphold all of their contracts and pay everyone out in dollars.
No, they would take it out in Bitcoin, probably. So the user would go through the Oracle to take it out in Bitcoin. Our financial partners we don't have any exposure with them. They're just doing exchanges on behalf of the user which are pretty short-lived transactions,
If you're-
or they're doing a bank transfer.
If you're a user, I think your confusion is you think you have exposure to 30 lumen, right?
Yeah.
And let me finish all of it. You have exposure to 30 lumen, you're a user. He holds 30 lumen so that he's got it in balance. But what he has in balance is he's given you've taken that first $100 and you have Bitcoin on your phone. And all he's doing is setting it up so that however much Bitcoin you have on your phone, he can convert into lumen and not lose a dime.
But he said he's actually
So if
But I'm not holding your lumens.
If he loses all his lumen,
Yeah.
you still have the Bitcoin on your phone.
Sure,
What-
but like,
what-
there must be some solvency problem.
The problem
Right?
is,
There has to be. There has to be.
it's very
I mean,
There has to be.
so,
It's like-
okay, the question is there some sort of solvency problem? There is, but it's short-lived, right? It only has to do with moves between when the last time the hedge was rebalanced.
it's about the change value.
So, let's take this example again.
Yeah.
Myself, maybe everyone in the room, gets a bunch of synthetic lumen on the
Yeah.
Abra app. Lumen goes up and up and up, and Bitcoin goes down and down and down.
Yeah.
Right.
You're putting more and more Bitcoin on all of our phones. Where is all that Bitcoin coming from?
Yeah.
From our, yeah.
So you just get it, well, hey, we need more Bitcoin, we need more Bitcoin,
Well,
we need some more Bitcoin.
No. So we sold the Bitcoin we got from them for dollars, right? Or for lumens in this case.
Right.
And so Bitcoin's going down and lumens is going up. We have all this lumen, so we start selling for Bitcoin.
But we're not selling our lumen.
No, but we have lumens.
I know, but I still have the exact same amount of synthetic lumen on my phone, and you're selling your lumen to give me more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of lumen, and I'm still going to have synthetic lumen.
No, so we don't run out. If we run out of lumen, we only run out of lumen when the hedge is gone, right? So that would mean that.
I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Let's ask one question. Just have
Yeah.
one question, guys. So does the customer actually know that this is a synthetic position?
Yeah, we make it clear. It's not like
I just want to ask that question, if it's clear from...
like if you go onto the website and you look at how Abra works, it's all
That
over.
would- Because like if they think that they have lumen, it's not actually there.
The other key thing to realize is that we use this as a way to go live quickly. If it's a popular asset, then we're very motivated to make it native, and so we build that into our app because there is hedging costs associated with the synthetic ones. So we'd rather users, I think users would rather have native assets.
Let me add a point. The bigger picture here is that synthetic crypto is actually not that interesting. Okay? Because you'll be saying, well, why don't you just have normal crypto? Why do you have synthetic crypto? That's not the point. The point is not synthetic crypto. The point is going to be we can represent any asset synthetically on top of blockchain, peer-to-peer, on top of crypto to allow you to trade any assets in the world, globally. That is actually where this is going.
How's that better than a stellar token?
It's not, but you don't necessarily have a Stellar wallet, right? Like if you already are into Stellar and have a Stellar wallet, that's fine. But if you're just into trading tokens, you can just get Abra and you have access to every crypto.
That covers me.
All right, one more question.
One more question.
Hold on a second here. Does everybody understand what they heard tonight? People still confused. Do you people not believe? Because I need to know y'all gotta believe. Because this is the future.
Become custodians and solve output problems.
So the last question that's gonna be asked here, it better be good. Because we got 30 more minutes to hang out. So, who's got the last best question for Ish?
I think it's shot. Okay. So if everyone is, if price of lumen is going up and you're selling Bitcoin to buy lumens, are you not aggravating a problem making lumens go up even more? And
We're
then-
selling lumens by Bitcoin.
Okay, aren't you? Okay, you're selling lumens to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Ish.
Thank you.